Prepare yourself for invasion. This is Indie Invasion.
We are live, guys. Welcome into Indie Invasion podcast. Tonight, I have a special guest, a guest host. This is Chris, everybody. Say hello. Welcome in, welcome in. We'll give people a little bit of time to jump in. But in the meantime, please follow, like, subscribe, smash that button at all those places. And as always, we like to say 30 minutes, but it's the fastest 40-ish minutes usually because we get on a roll usually. And reminder,
I thought you
everybody,
encourage people to listen at like double speed or something.
double speed. Well, then you miss all the fun, all the shenanigans.
Right.
But, yeah, join us every Thursday night where we do these, and there's the business done. Chris, welcome in. Welcome
Thanks.
in for filling in for Mac, who's out for a little bit doing some family business. Let's see. It says we have a couple people. You guys comment in. Let us know you're here, what you're working on. Chris, as a guest, I'm going to ask you, what have you been working on lately? Any painting minis?
Yes, as a matter of fact, because in a little less than 2 weeks' time, I'm heading down. We're gonna be in the same place at the same time at Adepticon in a couple weeks, and I've been painting up a couple miniatures that I needed to round out my my Warcry warband, my Gloomspite Gits. So the very last thing I needed to do was finish a Goblin Ball and Chain Fanatic, and so I finished that up the other day.
Now, is that for an official tournament that they're doing at Adepticon?
It's this really cool event. I did it for the first time last year, which I think was the first year they did it. There's this group called, so for those that may not know, I don't know if you've talked about it on the show, but Warcry is kind of a skirmish level Games Workshop game set in the Age of Sigmar universe. And it's played on the same size of board as Kill Team. I think it's like 30 by 22 inches. And I really like it. It's probably my favorite GW game.
Pretty fast pace, right?
Yeah, like once two people know the rules, like you can get through a game in like 40 minutes.
That's cool.
So there's a couple ways to play that game. I mean, you could just have two people make a list to do a one-off game, but the real fun way to play it is they have kind of what they call a narrative mode, where you have a war band and then they have this sort of a campaign progression. Where your scenarios are linked and you track what happens to your guys between each scenario. They can get injuries or they can get like artifacts. So there's a bit of theme to it. And so last year, this group called Dogs of Warcry, they did a narrative event, and it's kind of an abbreviated campaign because a typical campaign, if you do it all the way from start to finish, I think can be between like 6 and 8 games.
Yeah.
But it's a one-day event at Adepticon. They do 3 scenarios, and it's kind of an abbreviated campaign. And I had a really good time doing it last year. And they really lead into kind of the story part of it, because if you completed the campaign last year, which meant like you stayed for all 3 games and finished your games, they gave you on a little like business card, they gave you an artifact that gives your warband like a little ability. And you can use that in future events if you use the same warband, or if you want to use a different warband, you're allowed to transfer the artifact, but you have to write a narrative, like, a paragraph or like a couple of sentences on how that new warband got a hold of the the artifact.
Okay.
So they really encourage the storytelling part of it.
That's cool.
I had a really good time doing it last year. So that's what I'm doing this year. They are doing an actual like a more competitive tournament where it's just you kind of have one list and you play it from round to round. But I'm more into the
narrative is the way to go. I mean, we talk about narrative a lot on the show. It just makes it more memorable, more fun. Makes you care about your little dudes on the map, right?
Exactly. So that's what I've been working on hobby wise, was finishing that up. And
what's up, Matt? Welcome in. one of our first comments there. Matt, you get the gold star this week. Well, that's cool. I you know, I don't know if this is dumb by me, but I put off getting my badge for Adepticon. I don't know why. And I went to get it this week and realized that they closed the pre-order like 2 days before.
So you got to line up like a pleb.
So I either have to line up. Well, and this is the thing. I was talking to Bob about this, our good friend Bob Beauchamp, and he said,
King
"Well,
Bob.
he said technically, if you're not really interested in doing any of the tournaments, you can just walk around for nothing." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
you could just go like through the vendor hall and stuff.
you know what? Technically, that's kind of really all I'm going to be doing there besides playing games with you guys. I don't know, in some corner of the hall or, you know, back in a hotel or something like that. So I might not be getting a badge this year because I'm like, that's money I can put to buying more stuff from a booth.
Say more money you can spend in the vendor hall.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I some of that I think was I was looking at the event list and nothing jumped out at me really this year. You know, I've never done too much at Adepticon. I may do one or two things, but nothing really jumped out at me this year.
You used to do a fair bit when you were really championing Wild West Exodus.
Yeah, I did the tournament for them, or if they had like side events, I would do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I saw stuff that I wouldn't mind doing. The only other event that I'm signed up for is, have you seen that game that WizKids and Wizards of the Coast just...
Good morning, Alder. WizKids, what a new one or
Onslaught, D&D Onslaught?
Oh yeah. I've been seeing a little bit of stuff. I wanted to check that out.
It's a neat little game, and they had like they're at a bunch of different conventions. They're doing this, like you can go do like a little convention scenario, and the prize you get for participating is a Death Knight miniature. So I signed up for one of those sessions. It's short. It's only like 2 hours on like Thursday morning.
Well, that's cool. Hopefully at Adepticon, I will be able to do, I know I'll be doing some filming and talking to people. Hopefully I'm going to try this year doing maybe some live streaming. It won't be anything fantastic, guys, like with backdrops and little pop-ups and stuff, but I might try and do something from the hall. And we're definitely going to do like a wrap up after the show, just to, you know, talk about what we saw there and stuff like that. So, but that is in 2 weeks. So tonight, you talked about this, and I thought, oh man, this would be perfect to talk about on the show, especially after I start diving in. You talked about running a basically a one shot of this game RPG. Tonight we're doing a spotlight game, guys, and we're going to look at a little indie RPG game that's been around for a little bit. I've seen it, you know, I never really dove into it. But this is, okay, Chris, you may have to correct me here. MÖRK BORG? Most people say MÖRK BORG.
I mean, most English speakers call it MÖRK BORG. I mean,
yeah,
I have Germanic ancestry. I mean, with the umlaut over the O, I think it's MÖRK BORG would be but I mean, everyone calls it MÖRK BORG.
Yeah, or here's a little deep dive that so much digging that I did. Dark Fort in English.
Yeah, MÖRK means dark, and Borg means fort or castle. So,
and this is a little game designed by, okay, here comes the butchering, Pelle Nilsson and Johan Nohr. And these guys are
Johan Nohr.
Johan, I told you I was going to butcher them. And this game is published by Free League Publishing that you guys can find on their website. I'll have a link below.
Johan Nohr and Dead People.
And Dead People, okay. Which is pretty much the theme of this game. I mean, I want to read a little bit of what they have on their website. So MÖRK BORG is a pitch black apocalyptic fantasy RPG about lost souls and fools seeking redemption, forgiveness, or the last remaining riches in a bleak, dying world. Who are you? The tomb robber with silver glittering between cracked fingernails? The mystic who would bend the world's heart away from its wicked heads? Wander the valley of unfortunate undead catacombs beneath the, oh boy, Bergen crypt of the bedeviled. Man, some of these names, dude, I can't say. My mouth just doesn't work. But leave hope behind. The world's cruel fate is sealed, and your vain heroic efforts are distilled to end in death and dismay, or are they? So this is basically, I like, some people describe this as a death metal album cover of a game.
I think that's accurate. Like it's a fantasy role-playing game set in a very bleak, dying world whose like best days are long behind it. Like like even people that are so-called wealthy, like they're living in crumbling castles. They've pawned jewels in their crown. Their robes are tattered and stitched. Like it's a world where everybody knows like the end is like a couple of years away. Like this is a dying world. Nobody's seen the sun in years. Like it's a very, very bleak setting. And it's something that kind of like, I really like settings like that aren't, buffed and polished and, where there's, a real sort of grimness to it. And that's the aesthetic is really what grabbed me about it.
This is almost like a grim, dark fantasy setting,
very much
basically.
So,
there's really nothing pretty or fancy in it. It's just everything's worn out and wet. Just think wet and gray all the time and muddy all the time, and you're grasping at straws just to get through every day.
You're always cold and hungry.
Yes. And just reading through the book, and I went online, watched a bunch of playthroughs to get ready for our playthrough at Adepticon, and I got hooked on it. I really got hooked, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta check this out more, because one of the neat things I like with this game is they make all the rules and all these supplements on their website for free for you to check out, try it out, read through to see if you like it, how you like the system. And what I think is cool about the system is it's kind of a throwback. It's an OSR RPG throwback of way back in the day, where rules are light. You only have a couple stats. There's not a lot of rolling back and forth and figuring out who's got advantage and who, you got this buff, that buff, or debuff. And they put a lot of emphasis on just playing and telling a story. As bleak as it is, it's very interesting to me.
And one thing that I kind of noticed about it, like this is a game that I think was written for people that understand and have played role-playing games in mind. Like there's not a lot of, like, as compared to other games, like as you can see, like the form factor of the book, it's like an 8x4 or a 9x5 book.
It's not thick either.
And if you look at the, like, I'll thumb through it here, like the imagery is beautiful, and like they devote a lot of the realist, like, I mean, on this 2-page spread, like this is the text on the page. Like reading the book cover to cover, like it'll make, like, I mean, I'm not a fast reader. Like it took me about an hour to read cover to cover, and they don't waste a lot of time explaining things that if you've sought out a game like this, there's certain stuff that they just assumed So like, for example, like this right here, this is, oops.
Here, I can do this to.
Oh, you've got that. Go to page 29.
Don't know if I have a 29 because this is just their website.
Oh, sorry. I thought you had a PDF of but let me hold up this page here.
Oh, here, I can do this, Chris. Let me do that. Let me do that.
So that right there, that page, the white page, those are the rules for combat for the whole game.
One page, which is what's also cool. You don't have to read 10 pages for combat. It's just like, here's the dice you roll. This is the damage you do.
And it's a very, very rules light system. Like I ran this, I've only run this game once, so I won't profess to have a large amount of expertise. But I mean, I've run role-playing games for a long time and on and off. And getting back in the saddle with this one was really easy because the basic system is, I mean, it's you're rolling a d. You have four ability stats: strength, agility, presence, and toughness. And everything in the game, and those abilities are expressed as a number between -3 and +3. And whenever you're doing a test of any kind, it's going to be aligned to one of those stats. The GM will assign a difficulty number, and you roll a d20 and you add the modifier for that stat. And if you meet or beat that stat, you succeed at what you're attempting. And if you don't, you fail. And then, because it's d20 based, I mean, one of kind of the old school throwbacks is like a natural 1 is always a critical, and like critical in this game or a natural 1 is a fumble, I should say, critical failure, and a natural 20 is a critical success. And the fumbles in this game are very, very punishing.
Yeah. Ouch.
By design.
Ouch. Yeah, as I'm putting up for you guys that are watching the video, you can see some of the art, how beautiful it is. It graphically, I know that they won some awards with their layout, and
they sure did.
I mean, it's just, I've never seen something like this. And what's really neat is so this is an open game license for this. So there's tons of third-party support out there. Just besides what Free League puts out, there's, if you go on their website,
example right here, just to illustrate that point, like they are a company that is, or a group that is very open to other people creating in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And because the core mechanic is so simple, like the things you can bolt onto it are unbelievable. And like if you go on their website, they have links to all kinds of like scenarios, and like there's an app called Scumbirther that just runs in a browser. Like you can, even though like character creation for MÖRK BORG is very quick, but as if you're somebody that's running the game, it's great because you can like just basically click on a button and it will create a character for you that you can just have at the ready. And some of the like there's a wealth of add-ons that are compatible with MÖRK BORG using their creator license. I've got one in my hands right here that I picked up recently off. They did a Kickstarter for it. It's called Fiskborg, and it's basically rules within the world of MÖRK BORG for you to be a fisherman in MÖRK BORG and go out on the deadly seas and like hunt sea monsters and stuff like that. There's like anything you could think of. Like I was looking at this one site the other night that had just all kinds of different third-party resources for MÖRK BORG, and they had one that was it was a downloadable printable PDF called Morkopoly. It was like Monopoly in the world of MÖRK BORG.
Oh my gosh! So yeah,
that is unbelievable. And one that Eric and I were talking about before we went live, that I'm really keen to try out is another. And I apologize, I don't have the name of the folks that created it at my fingertips, but if you go on Wargame Vault, you can find this game called Forbidden Psalm, which is a miniatures game, like a skirmish miniatures game, based on the MÖRK BORG core rules, and evoking the theme and feel of that world.
Yeah. I think we might have mentioned that. I know Mac found a really good deal on that rule book, and I remember him posting pictures over that he got it, and I think he tried it. And I've seen other playthroughs out there of people playing the game, and it looks pretty interesting. All right, so something that stands out to us with this system, we've kind of probably touched on it a little bit, but I think right away, one of the things that really stands out to me is that this game is a fast and brutal RPG to play. It is, in regular RPGs, you spend a lot of time creating a character that has a background and, personality. What are their wishes? What do they hate? This game, you can do it, but don't get attached to the characters. They say come to a game with like a packet of maybe 5 characters because it's a brutal game, but the pacing that it plays, it's fast. So it doesn't drag down. Yes, it's a role-playing game, so you can really get into it. And that I think is dependent on the players. But if you just want like this hardcore grind game, old school RPG where you're throwing dice and just fighting creatures, in a dungeon, this is kind of like that. What's something that stands out to you right away for you in the system, in the game?
I mean, we've kind of touched on it a couple of times, but it's just sort of, it's unapologetically harsh and grim, which you kind of just have to know getting in, like kind of lean into and just kind of enjoy that part of it. And I think because, to your point, Eric, because character creation is so quick, I mean, you can enjoy. Hey, there's Bob.
Bob saying the invasion hasn't been invaded. Yes, my second Canadian on the show, Bob.
But just to I'll tell an anecdote because I just to give it a dry run, I ran the scenario that I planned to run for you guys at Adepticon.
Okay.
The other night, and what I'm looking at right here in the book. So magic in this game for player characters is mostly done through scrolls. Like you have scrolls that have powers on them, and if you roll a 1 on a d20 on your check, you something bad happens. I mean, it's up to the GM, but they provide you what they call the arcane catastrophe table. And so one of my players, he was going to use one of his scrolls. He rolled a d20 and he rolled a 1. And I'm like, okay, roll on the arcane catastrophe table. Well, then he roll a 20. And let me read you the entry off of number 20 on the arcane catastrophe table. Now, in the mythology of this world, there are a pair of 2-headed basilisks that are kind of the I won't really say gods, but like they're real, and they're who are going to basically consume the world at the end. And so one of them they just refer to as he, and every time in the book it's referred to, it's just he in big capital block letters. So the arcane catastrophe my players suffered was, perhaps it's for the best. He emerges from the shadows. At least your suffering is short, almost instantaneous, as the 2-headed basilisk devours you. Like, no rolls, no death saves, just you. Yeah, there's she, but just because of a 1 and then a 20, character gone. So
yeah, that's
the kind of thing you have to buy into if you're going to play this game.
I mean, I watching playthroughs and just jumping in and watching different characters, and like with the character creator they have on the website, I just clicking to see what kind of health points I can get. I think the most I saw with just that was like maybe 5, which is like super high in this game. Usually on average, it's like 2.
Between 2 and 4 is kind of average. Like you're rolling the way you generate your hit points in this game is you roll a d8 and you add your toughness modifier. So yeah, it's not. And now also, like, I mean, a weapon that does d4 in this game, like that's a significant amount of damage. So like combat is very quick and very lethal. And the thing I also like about this game, other systems have this too, is the way they use armor in this game. Armor makes you easier to hit, but it makes you harder to hurt. So whereas in other games, they kind of abstract armor as to, okay, maybe you're not deftly avoiding the blow, but if you don't meet the target, they miss. Well, in this game, I mean, if you're wearing a big bulky suit of scale mail, you're going to be easier to hit. But if a little goblin blader is just, pelting you with a stone, it'll be enough to absorb it. And for enemies, it has very simple and what I think are very intuitive and very reflective of the world morale rules, because most enemies have a morale stat. And basically, if they take if it's a single enemy and they're down to 1/3 or less of their starting hit points, you roll 2d6, and if you roll over their morale stat, they'll flee or surrender.
Yeah, they get the heck out.
And it's, I might not have had that exactly correct, but that's the spirit of it. And if you're fighting a bunch of small things, if a certain number of them are, I think it's if 2/3 of them are defeated, they'll surrender or flee. So
Yeah,
I
I
find
like that.
I
So
like that because I find
yeah,
like, you know, in a lot of role playing games, I find myself wondering like, okay, would this random goblin that we just met like really just fight to the death? Like, no, he's
yeah.
gonna run away.
It kind of something like that it can drag out a game, especially if you know the dice rolls are just going back and forth type of thing. So it kind of helps keep it fast paced. I think one of the other things that I like is that a lot of the dice rolling is kind of put into the player's hand. The GM doesn't roll a lot in this game. Their job is to push that story forward, and present the adventure for the players. So it kind of keeps that, once again, that fast pace where you're not constantly stopping, checking what stats are and stuff. So it's with the simplicity of, just a couple stats, you don't have to, look at this big long page of numbers. It keeps it quick when it's just one side doing a lot of that. I thought that was really nice for an RPG game. It doesn't take you out of the game, the story, where you're trying to do that math and mid max and all that type of stuff to, basically beat somebody.
They're very much like move at the speed of fun rules. Like the rules for combat basically say, like, compared to other games where it gets hyper specific as like these are the very specific things that you can do on your turn and give you very specific distances about how far you move. I mean, I had one little dry erase surface and a marker and a bunch of miniatures, and they basically tell you in the rules, they say typically in a round of combat you can attack and you can move a distance that would take you across a room. Like, that's as specific as they get.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's almost like use your common sense type of thing to keep
or just
it fun.
by consensus. Like, when I was playing with, it was interesting because two of the guys that I ran this for the other night, both of them, like this was the first time they had played a tabletop role playing game ever.
Oh wow!
So it was a bit of baptism by fire for them, but they grokked it right away. But it was funny because they were both big video gamers, and they were asking very like tactical questions, like, okay, am I allowed to jump up on the table? I'm like, yeah. Like, do I have to roll for that? Like, no, you just get up on the table. That sounds
yeah. What do you want to do? Just
tell me what you want to do, and then I'll tell you as the GM, if that's a reasonable amount, or if you get too ambitious, I'll throw a complication at you. Like, that's just.
And I think this is the kind of game that's great for newbies that have never tried role playing because it's not overly intricate. Is like you said, tell me what you want to do. But in the same sense, somebody that's been playing RPGs, sometimes it could be a little hard to separate, what they're used to, and then to go back to something that's, I don't want to say simplified, but straightforward, and stresses more of that fun storytelling. Do you think this is a good starter RPG for people?
I think as long as they're bought off on the theme, yes.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing is the theme. What does it say on the back? Really not suitable for those under 16. And I mean, yeah, if you look at some of the art, it can be a little grotesque, and even some of the fluff that they have in there, it's pretty dark.
It gets a little intense.
But in the same sense, I think it's kind of tongue in cheek, comedy type of thing. It's sarcastic almost in a way. In it. And I think if you go into it with that mindset of, oh, this is just going to be kind of a fun, hilarious experience, well, I think this is great for people.
Yeah. I mean, and you can, to answer your question, is it a good introductory role-playing game? I mean, I think it is from your point of complexity. If I was introducing this to like experienced role players that had played something like Dungeons and Dragons for most of their
like 3.5 or something,
I would set expectations like, I mean, this is not really built around or it doesn't prioritize optimization the same way that other games do. I'm not critiquing games that do, because I know that's something that a lot of people really like those games. Yeah. But this game is about like, let's roll up a character quickly, like walk into abandoned castle and wait for bad things to happen. Like that's just kind of that's just what you're doing. I mean, I think I would guess that's why it's called Dark Fort as opposed to Majestic Castle.
It's not sparkling.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're eking out an existence in a world that's dying where there's very little hope. And the role-playing opportunities are like, how is your character dealing with that? Like, are they nihilistic about it and just don't care? Are they hopeful about it? Like, are they somebody that thinks, okay, there's a way to avert this? Or are they leaning into it? Are they like a doomsayer or a apocalyptic cultist that just is welcoming the end of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, and they talk about a little bit of that stuff in the fluff, which is what really kind of drew me in. I was like, man, this is nuts. This is messed up. Well, I want to go over real quick some of the stuff that jumps out. We've touched on a lot of this kind of all over the place tonight, but gameplay fast and brutal. Uses the core D20 system. Basically difficulty class resolution mechanic. Light on rules, heavy on the rest. They say that in the book, I think, a couple times. They stress the story, which is cool. One of the other things I think that stands out the most for this is expansions and supplements. They have plenty of new stuff to look at by them or by third party. And probably one of my favorite things about any game is when they offer a PDF free, just the basic rules that you can download, check it out on their website. They also have free character sheets, generators. If you don't want to spend the time rolling up dice, press a button, it'll give you a character you can use. And they have adventures that you can use on there for free. But I think one of the things that I like the most about this game is all the random charts, the variety that they have in here. I mean, everything. They have so many charts in here for rolling. Like, one of the coolest things I think is, the apocalypse is coming. So they have these charts that you can roll on every day to see if a new 7 sign of the end of the world is coming. And some of the stuff is just like crazy. Like, they have water turning into tar. The sun is gone. It is never coming back type of thing. So it adds a variety to your games with all these different charts. And I think that's a really cool thing about the game. It doesn't like shoehorn you into a certain theme or story and stuff. So it keeps it really fresh.
I love the charts too. I mean, I think the charts are very much a nod to the old school.
Very thematic too.
Charts on things, and like I really like the effort that they put into the theme and aesthetic. Like, I'm going to hold up here. Like, this is their GM screen.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
And if we turn around the other side of it, like, just very.
That's a heavy metal cover right there.
I mean, but like one of the charts on the other side, like D100 items and trinkets,
Yeah.
Things like a broken harp, a horned helmet, a jar of fermented fish. Like, just
why?
If you just need a random thing, like, yeah, I love it. It reminds me of, like, that old first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master guide that just had.
Now, whoa, you may be aging us here, buddy. No, most of the people that listen to us are pretty much in that same bracket, I think. But
you got some gray in the beard, Eric. I don't think you're fooling anyone anymore.
Yeah. I ain't breaking down to the Grecian though.
No, don't. I mean, hey, gray is better than nothing. Okay, I'll just say it.
I did tell Mary, it was a couple of weeks ago, about dyeing my hair, but I'm going to leave my eyebrows. So I have either the jet black hair and the gray eyebrows, or reverse.
Or do one of each.
Oh man, trend setting right there. But anyway, guys, you know what? We're kind of getting to the end of this, and I did not use my banners that I made. So any of this, guys, sounds interesting, check out MÖRK BORG. a doom metal album of a game. Spiked flail to the face, light on rules, heavy on everything else. Check that out. Here's a little link for you guys. I will have the link for their website in the show notes. You can check it out. If anything, go download the rules, the PDF free, read through it, see if it sounds kind of cool. And, this is a game that you can try out in a night, just download one of the adventures, try it out, and have some fun. This is kind of one of those games that you can just have fun. Don't take it serious. So, check it out.
They have on their website, they are complete. Like, you might look at it and think, okay, this is abbreviated. Like, no, that's the way they've written this game.
It's just text only.
Rules.
Yeah,
they just don't have the gorgeous art in the hardcover. So don't feel.
I'll tell you what.
After start version, you're not getting an abbreviated. Like, those are the full rules.
Yeah, after reading through the rules is what convinced me to go buy the book. And it's not a super expensive book either. It's quick to read through. I read through it in a day type of thing and had a good understanding about it. So go check it out. Go play around with the free stuff they got on their website. Create some characters, see what they get, and look at some of the monsters they have in the rules book.
But they've got a brilliant scheme for, even though it's a relatively inexpensive book, they've got a brilliant scheme built into the rules to make you have to buy a new copy. Did you notice that, Eric?
What's that?
So
I think
you touched on it earlier. So this is what's called the calendar of Necrubel. These are when Eric was talking about like the rivers turning into tar. This is kind of the it's stylized like a scripture. Like, there's 7 psalms here, and you basically do random rolls to see how far is the world creeping along to the ultimate doom. And so when you get to the very end, they call them miseries. I'll read the 7th misery because there's 7 psalms, and this is actually another table, because this is like you roll a d66 to see your misery. So if you rolled like 26, you'd roll Psalm 2 verse 6. That's what you read. And if you get all the way to the end of the world, it says, the 7th misery will always be 7-7, and the world finally dies. The 7th seal is broken for the 7th and final time. The game and your lives end here. Burn the book.
I thought that was hilarious.
I love that. That was like these guys get it.
Yeah. Check it out, guys. I can almost guarantee that after reading through it, you'll buy the book to try. Like I said, there's plenty of supplement that if you really like it, I like that there's a lot of support for the game. So, you're never wanting for what am I going to do this week type of thing. And the characters, like I said, man, you go through them so that's a lot of fun. You don't have to worry about, well, this character's just not working. Well, he just meant to hint stuff.
You won't find yourself saying, boy, I'm really bored of this character.
No, because he may just take 1, 2 if he's lucky hits, but they got a lot of neat mechanics in the game that, they won't necessarily die as quick as you think, like with some of the magic items and re-rolling and stuff like that. So check it out. But I think that's about it, Chris. Thank you for coming on and filling in, being a guest host tonight for Mac, and talking about this. It's been a while since we've talked about an RPG game on the show.
Cool.
It kind of, diving into this game kind of got me, digging around a little bit more again with RPGs. And, I started watching more stuff on YouTube with, that doing some of those alternative RPGs. So who knows? Maybe we'll talk more about RPGs on the show. Basically, it's what can my bank account afford?
Hey, RPGs are more affordable than minis games, my friend.
Oh yeah. Yep. Let's see. Bob, let me do a comment here. Bob said, nice. No need to come up with a deep backstory. That's right, Bob, because he ain't going to be around long enough.
And unsurprisingly, if you can't come up with one on your own, there is a table.
Yeah, there we go. A table. They got a table. It's one of those things. We got a table for that.
That's right.
But anyway, guys, that is kind of our show for tonight. Fastest we actually did 40-ish minutes tonight in gaming. Once again, join us every Thursday night where we do a live stream, whether it's a game feature, maybe a topic, or sometimes we're doing some hobby nights. So if you want to hang out, do a hobby hangout, paint on the desk, we got those going on. But yeah, expanding the gaming universe one game at a time. Here's our one game for tonight, MÖRK BORG. Check it out. If you guys are interested in more audio, check us out on Podbean, iTunes, Google, all those podcast places to download and listen to some rambling. You can go visit us there, and make sure you check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and drop us a line at indieinvasion@gmail.com. Speaking of Discord, you can join us on Discord and join in the community, what projects we're working on. If you have questions, you can post them in there. It's a growing community. We love the interaction of the community on Discord. You can check us out there. And we have links to all these places down below in the show notes. If you head over to one of these places, you'll find a link there. And if you want to support us, we got a Patreon. You can visit us at patreon.com, Indie Invasion. And our favorite place, redbubble.com. If you need some merch, hats, shirts. I'm kind of a poster boy for us again today. Coffee mug. We got all that stuff on there. Visit us at redbubble.com for some merch. But that's it, guys. Until next time, when you're out there doing a dungeon crawl in a grim dark, hey, that's a good that's some good merch right there, Chris.
My Indie Invasion measuring tool, yeah.
But while you're out there in that grim dark world trying to just eke your way out and make it to that next day, prepare yourself for an invasion, guys. We'll talk to you next time.